What's up, everybody? This is The Real Deal without Larry Lawton today. You've got me, Benz, and I'm here with Frank Filiberto. What's up, Frank?
Hi, Ben Zach. How you doing today?
Doing really good. Ben Zach, we're going to start with fucking shit right out of the gate. Gotcha. People don't know what the whole Ben Zach thing's about. I'd rather they don't.
Yeah,
Just fucking leave it there. Yeah. But you, of all people, are just fucking, you like to poke. So we're going to have a good show for you today, everybody. Since Larry's not here, we're actually going to get an actual conversation going.
Well, his seat, I think it's not going to be easy to fill. I am.
Oh, that's true. I agree with that.
I am sitting in his seat.
Oh, fuck.
And who's calling my phone here? Well, I am a doctor, you know. I am on call.
Now they can see who's calling your phone.
Okay.
Anyways, since this is the real fucking deal, even though we just started, I'm not going to restart it because your phone rang. You realize?
What do you want to do?
You want to promote the book?
I mean,
Gangster Redemption. Did you actually read it?
I read it a couple times.
A couple times.
I read it a couple. It's an easy read.
It is an easy read.
You can read it one night.
I agree.
It's a fairly easy read. If you haven't bought the book, buy it. If you haven't, if you bought it and you didn't read it. It's a pretty interesting book. It opens your eyes to a lot of things. And,
it's Larry's story.
And as you know, September 1st they came out. We're still waiting for them. I'm still waiting for the Crooked Diamond cigars, which were promised September 1st.
Let me tell you how that goes. So there's a lot of delays in every industry right now. You know about that.
Yes.
Cigar industry is not immune to those delays. We were told they were going to be here in September, but we wanted everything to be perfect. We didn't want to cut any corners. We didn't want to bring them in bundles. We didn't want the cigars to not be perfect. So because we're working with Oliva Cigars and they're one of the best brands in the world, we have the luxury of waiting and making sure things are done right rather than just, scooting through the process. Mm-hmm. And that's why we don't have them yet. We should, and we hope to have them, all the cigars that have been pre-ordered on the website, shipped by the end of this month.
I got a quick story about shortage of supplies and so forth. I was doing a facelift yesterday, all right? And the patient was jumping all over the table after I injected her with the Xylocaine, Novocaine, Xylocaine, anti-anesthetic. So I'm saying to my nurse, what the hell is going on here? She says, well, we can't get the stuff you normally use, so I got lesser strength. I said, well, you don't tell me that beforehand.
You got to know.
I got to know. So there's such a shortage of supply of the Xylocaine that we use for facelifts, all right, that they send us something that was half the strength, all right, half the size of the bottle, but 4 times the price.
No shit.
Yeah.
Is it just a different brand or?
No, same company. They just can't, they're not making the other product because they just ran out of it. It's off the shelves.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you had to inject the lady with more shit so she stopped feeling it.
I had to stop the procedure in the middle of the procedure because she was feeling too much and re-inject her, wait another 20 minutes. I feel sorry for the poor lady, but, it happens.
Sure. Did you ever figure out your whole getting stabbed in the hand with a needle?
I got stabbed yesterday.
With a bloody needle?
With a bloody needle stabbed in my hand. It's all black and blue over here.
So what exactly happened? You want to share?
Well, I was, I gave her a shot. I gave her more in the middle of the procedure. And I handed it over to my nurse, all right? And my nurse went to put it down on the table. As she put it on the table, she jabbed me right in the hand with
it. So there's precautions when that happens, right? Yeah. That's a big deal when that happens in the operating room.
You don't want to make light of it because that's how doctors get AIDS, Hep C, various diseases you can get from it. So naturally, you got to go in detail with the patient's medical history. You go in detail before anyway, but you're not really allowed to ask them. You can't ask people about certain diseases, especially AIDS and so forth.
So when somebody walks into your office, it is illegal for you to ask them whether or not they have AIDS.
Yeah, you can't.
What happens after you get pricked like that?
After they get pricked like that, I basically tell them what happened, and you present it in a way in which, is there anything I have to worry about that may contaminate me?
And there's still no law that says that she has to say anything.
No law
that
has to say anything.
She could say nope, walk away, and knowing that there's something.
And I went through treatment. It happened to me. Probably about 10 years ago. I had a patient come into the office, and I suspected that the patient had a tumor behind his nose. It's called the nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Very common.
We all know what that means.
Very common in Asian people. Okay. More common in Asian people than Caucasians and blacks. Common in people with Epstein-Barr virus, which is mononucleosis, right? You get that type of cancer. And the third thing is in AIDS patients, right? So, I stick my finger up the back.
You're not really thinking about it.
Not thinking. I stick my finger up the back of the throat because I want to feel it. Cancers feel a certain way. They're friable. They're soft. They bleed when you feel them. If it's just a benign tumor, it's going to feel hard. So you can tell the difference if you felt enough of them.
Right. Okay.
And I've been doing this for 40 years, so it's fairly easy for me to diagnose just with my finger. And as I have my finger in his mouth, he bites down on my finger and rips my glass off and scrapes my whole finger. All right? Ooh. And again, we go through the whole process, and sure enough, he was HIV positive. Right? So it put me in AZT for a year, which is the precautionary drug. Never turned positive, but I had to take the drug.
So what is a precautionary drug? You take it just to make sure that the AIDS virus can't grow within you?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a possibility that you gotten it but killed it early.
It's a possibility.
Or that you didn't get it at all.
You didn't get it at all.
So that's why it's called a precaution.
And I get tested all the time anyway.
You kind of have to, right?
Yeah, I'm a surgeon. So,
right.
You always have nicks and so forth, or blood splashes into your eyes and so forth. So.
Blood splashes into your eyes?
Yeah, well, in the old days, I didn't need glasses, so I didn't use any glasses in the older days. And it can take 10 to 15 years sometimes to convert from a virus. So
that's the biggest problem right there, I think.
It's the conversion process.
15 years, you wouldn't know. So right now, if you, God forbid, you got something from that fucking needle, there could be a possibility where you wouldn't know for 15 years.
Yeah, possibility. There are also today, as you know, most people know, it's not a preventable. It is a preventable disease. They have right now prevention drugs now that people are using to prevent getting the virus. But they also have wonderful treatments today.
You don't die from it.
A perfect example is Magic Johnson.
I knew you would say that.
That's a perfect example. I mean, don't forget when Magic Johnson got it, it was a death sentence. But it shows you what money could do too.
Right.
What money could do.
Well, back then he had access to stuff that not just anybody had access to.
Correct.
Right? So, and I don't understand. He amassed a wealth, but not that big of a wealth.
Well, he went into the movie business. He started movie theaters. He tried his hands at talk show. You remember that failed.
I don't remember it, but I knew about it.
Yeah, he tried a talk show. His verbal skills weren't anything like Randy Fine's.
Randy Fine can really talk, man. That guy was.
I want to tell you, I wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
I listened to that. I listened to that show, and regardless, put all politics aside, whether not you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian.
You can't, Frank. You can't put politics aside. I'll let you complete, but no, you can't put politics aside when it's a politician talking.
Well, when it really comes down to, he has great verbal skills, right? And he knows how to answer questions.
He's intelligent, no doubt.
And he can sell his points. All right. Again, you're not going to sell your position on Roe versus Wade if somebody doesn't agree or agrees with it. People who dig their heels in on specific issues. It doesn't make a difference what you're going to say to them. All right. But what it really does for people, if you have a politician, Randy denies that he's a politician because he's individually, he's wealthy. He's
a politician.
He doesn't depend on it. But I look at people like him, and Randy he's not a guy that you just are soft on as far as, well, he's all right. He's a guy either you hate or you like. You know why? Because he's a trailblazer, right? He's a guy that knocks down walls. He doesn't open a door, right? And I kind of admire people like that. They put their career at risk by being like that. They have more haters, than anybody else.
But somebody said something to me. If he wasn't Jewish, do you think he'd care about the anti-Semitic issue?
Well, anybody cares about more than I do? That's non-Jew, non-Jewish.
About being anti? No.
Okay. So I'm not Jewish. In fact, you know what I wear.
Right.
Right.
No, listen, you're not Jewish, but you might as well be.
Yeah.
You grew up in New York. You grew up in a very Jewish community. You socialized with a lot of Jews. Most people right now seeing this, they just see your mannerisms. They assume you're fucking Jewish. They don't know you're 100% fucking Italian. Yeah. You cut this guy's arm, there's sausage inside. You're about as Italian as they get.
I can't get more Italian than being in the garbage business.
Oh, that's true. Did you ever discuss the garbage business on this show?
No, never did.
No?
Never did.
Do you want to get into it?
It's
what can you tell the listeners?
I can tell this is some of the some of the principles of management in the garbage business.
Some of the principles of man. I like that. You know, you make it seem very.
You understand when I was in the garbage business, and the clear fact is, I was born into the garbage business. My grandfather started it. My father wound up owning it. It was a fairly large business. At one time, we were the largest business in New York City. It was fairly big, and it gave us a good living. All right, and I always tell people that I never went to camp as a kid. All right, my camp in high school was getting on a garbage truck, right? My father would not pay for camp.
What time did you have to get on?
1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock. I had to be on the truck at 2 o'clock.
You know, you should tell him the story about the first time he told you to come to work.
Yeah, that's when I graduated college.
No, I know. You graduated college. You ready to come take over the business, baby?
Yeah, I graduated college. I basically put my shirt and jacket on and tie just as I went to college. Right. It was a requirement. We wore a tie in college. Yeah. I mean, people don't realize that today. Nobody does. But we had to wear a jacket and tie in college. And I went to school in New York City. All right. So I get up 7 o'clock in the morning, get dressed, go to the office. I'm up in the office. All right. My father used to come to work at 10 o'clock. Right. So he comes walking through the door. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm working. You told me to get to work. I graduated college last weekend. You told me I had to get to work. I'm working." He says, "We don't work with a jacket and tie here, and you're not allowed up in the office."
You thought he was going to hire you to be management.
He says, "Get your ass downstairs and start work." I said, "I have a jacket and tie on." He says, "We'll go home and get changed." All right. So, all right, get changed. Next morning, I go to work, 7 o'clock in the morning. Sweatshirt, jeans, working the back of a not working the back. I was driving the truck. All right. At 3 o'clock, the first shift is over, and I go home. All right. He comes home that night. Says, "Where were you today?" I says, "I worked." He says, "What do you mean I worked?" He says, "I was there from 7 to 3. He
drove the truck.
I didn't tell him I drove the truck.
Okay.
Right. So. He says, "You're the boss's son. There are no shifts. Work starts at 1:30 in the morning, right? And you don't leave until the last man leaves, 4, 5, 6 o'clock.
Sheesh.
Right? Every day.
Is that why you decided to become a doctor?
So it was like, okay, I go back to work, right? 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. My father sometimes used to make spot calls on us, you know? So it was like 4 or 5 days later, he comes driving up. I remember we were on 9th Avenue and 38th Street in the Garment Center, New York City. And I'm at the wheel of drive. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm at work. You told me to come to work at 1:30 in the morning." He said, "No. What are you doing behind the wheel of a truck? You weren't even promoted yet."
Oh, shit.
"Get your ass on the back of the truck."
He wanted you to pick up garbage.
You know, I never lasted long enough to become a driver.
Really? So how long did you do that for?
Well, what happened was I wound up buying a little piece of the business. You could buy routes, where I took myself out of having somewhat of a boss. Right, you know? Right. He still was my boss because he rented the truck to me, and I had to give him all my garbage. In New York City, you don't give them garbage. You give them waste paper, which they recycle and sell.
Right.
So what you're picking up, it's like picking up quarters and dimes from a company because you're selling that waste paper, all right? So my rental on the truck was for me to take all the garbage back to his plant.
Right.
And that was the rental on the truck.
And then you can use the truck technically for free as long as you drop all the garbage.
I only needed the truck from 1:30 in the morning till 3:30. That was my day.
That was your day?
After I started my business.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you had your own route. What'd you do with that route when you decided to become a doctor?
I sold it for an enormous amount of money.
You got a lot of money? Did you get to keep the money?
I got, you know, a garbage route, a waste paper route is a lot like owning real estate. All right. For instance, if I pick up your commercial building, and mind you, in New York City, all right, the residential is picked up by the city. You pay taxes for that.
Right.
But commercial is picked up by private carters. All right. And the way it works is the private carters have years ago, they broke it up into territories. We can get into that story. It's another story.
Right.
Right. But they broke up into territories. Since I pick up a new building that was picked up, and that building pays me $10,000 a month, which is not unusual for a building. You have 20 officers in a building. Each guy's paying you, but it's collected by the superintendent, and you get one check. So you pick it up. Now, if somebody wanted to, if you come to me and say, Frank, I just bought a garbage truck. I'm in a business. My business is very close to that route. Are you willing to sell that route? Right. So I say, yeah. The going rate is 40 to 1.
40 to 1 of what you're making?
Yeah. So you have to pay $400,000 for the right to pick up a business
that does $10,000 a month.
$10,000 a month.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It's 40 to 1.
Yeah.
This is 40 times 10,000, 40 to 1.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
Yeah. So but again, you're paying $400,000 and you're doing $10,000 a month, right? That's
indefinitely.
That's and not indefinitely. Listen, what happens? This is why it's better in real estate.
Okay.
You're allowed to increase them 3.5% to 5%
per year.
Per how much garbage they're throwing out.
Oh no shit.
So my father's business that was big. We used to have a guy that worked for us that used to just go around counting. It wasn't garbage bags. We used to give them containers, counting how many containers they used. If somebody's business is doing well, they may go from 3 to 5 containers.
Sure.
So that's the person you increase because you know he's doing well.
Right.
Somebody that goes from 3 to 2 containers, you leave him alone. You don't raise him.
Right.
All right. So you may have a route that's paying you $10,000 a month, which is worth 40 to 1, but after 3 or 4 years, it's maybe doing $30,000 a month, still at 40 to 1.
Yeah.
All right. So you see, it's better than a real estate business. All right.
So if it was $10,000 a month back then, how much is it today? If you had to estimate. Well, you still have some connections in the game, don't you?
That building right now is probably doing $60,000 a month. 60,
okay.
Yeah. No, we were doing the Empire State Building back then. I'm talking 50s and 60s. I'm talking a long time ago. Right. We were getting about $90,000 a month from the Empire, which was big money back then. Don't forget,
$90,000 a month is big money today.
Well, again, a garbage truck today runs you $250,000.
Okay, then you got the truck, you got the gas. Yeah. What's the gas going to cost you? Another in today's money?
No, I mean
another $1,000 a day. I'm exaggerating on purpose.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt that if you're willing to work hard, in my opinion, I'm making money selling garbage. That's an incredible business.
That is an incredible business.
It's an incredible business.
Yeah, but you said this to me once, and I knew it, but I never really thought about it. The fact is you can put a business on its knees by not picking up its trash.
Yeah, you can shut down New York City.
Have you ever done that?
I got a little story I could tell you.
Okay.
Principles of management.
Oh, there we go. I like that.
I knew we were getting to the principles of management. You'll like this story.
Okay.
So while I'm a garbage man, all right, I'm going for my master's in business administration at St. John's University, New York. All right. And I walk into class, all right, and I just got off a garbage truck, right? And I got all these suits there from Xerox, IBM, and Apple and those guys weren't around. Yeah. So it was Xerox, IBM, General Motors, and they're all in their gray suits, their black ties, getting their master's degree so they get promoted, and they're making, back then a master's guy did about $15,000 a year, master's for one of those companies, which is a big salary.
And you could live in Manhattan with that salary.
Yeah, live in Manhattan.
Which is
we
crazy.
just heard that story the other day.
Yeah.
We heard that story the other day. So I just go in my sweatshirt and jeans and, smelled like a billy goat, and, guys wouldn't even sit near me. So what we had to do is, the chairman of the department was given this course and was called the Executive Principles of Management, right? And he said, the whole course is going to deal with you guys taking the principles of management, which is organization, control, staffing. There's 5 of them, right? I don't need to educate anybody. That's 5 of them.
Okay.
Right? So, and apply them to your chosen field and how they work in your chosen field. So, you get the guy from IBM coming up and he says this bullshit, that bullshit. Get this guy coming up, he bullshit. It's the same bullshit from these corporate guys. They don't know what's going on anyway,
They're shuffling papers.
They've never made it beyond the 5th floor in a 50-story building, Yeah. So I get up and I put them on the board, organization, control, staffing, blah, 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 right? I put an X through them, equals bullshit. The professor looks at me like, what the hell is going on here, All right. I said, well, let's start with, let's just take control. Let's just take control, right? I said, I was up at, back in the late 60s, early 70s, if everybody remembers Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta, with the big collars, with the satin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Those shirts back then sold for $30 or $40 when you were buying a shirt for $2.
Right.
All right. You know, it's equivalent to maybe buying a shirt today for $500, $400 or $500. They were very expensive shirts.
Sure.
All right. We had the keys to all the factories because we had to pick them up at 2 o'clock in the morning. All right. So
and there's nobody there.
Nobody there.
Right.
So I was in the factory one day, and it was like a Friday, and I was going out for the weekend, so I needed some shirts. So I was taking some shirts and putting them in a bag, and about maybe 20 shirts, you know. But it wasn't unusual. I did it through high school. It wasn't unusual.
Right.
I didn't consider it stealing because it was out in the open. I wasn't considered stealing. All right.
It's not out in the open. You had the key.
So this particular morning, the owner of the shirt company, and I'm not even going to mention his name because he may be nationally known. All right. The owner of the shirt company grabbed me by the collar. Right. What are you doing? I said, Mr. So-and-so, I said, I'm taking shirts. You know that. I mean, we've always had, sometimes, you know, I'm taking some shirts. The weekend's coming up. You kids, and he said something derogatory, almost like call me anti. He said something, you mafia kids and all that. He said something really derogatory.
Okay.
Right? So I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. All right? So I put the shirts back. Now I got to worry about repercussions from my father.
Right.
Right? That's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
And I had a guy that used to be my bodyguard. Don't forget, I'm 5'4". Back then I weighed about 90 pounds. All right? I weighed about.
You needed a bodyguard.
I needed a bodyguard. I remember my father, he told him, his name was Powell. He had arms bigger than my whole body. He said, if anything happens to my son on the streets of New York at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm putting your head under the truck.
Okay.
Right? So we go back to the office. My father didn't come to work till 10 o'clock. And I'm dreading him coming to work. So I see him pull up. He goes up the stairs in his office. And I very rarely go upstairs. So he had a loft office. I go upstairs, all right? Powell's with me, always behind me, right? So I said, something went on with Mr. So-and-so today. He says, what went on? I told him the story. He says, I'm going to ask you one question. Were you disrespectful to him? I says, no, right, Powell? I'm not asking Powell, I'm asking you, right? I said, I was not disrespectful. In fact, I put all the shirts away, all right? He said, okay, get back downstairs and work. Never heard another word. Didn't chastise me, nothing. About 2 weeks later, my father's secretary calls me about 9 o'clock on the speaker. Frank, I need you up in the office. I go up in the office. She says, Mr. So-and-so's on the phone. He insists on speaking to you. I said, I don't want to speak to him. He embarrassed me last time I was there. He insists he will not get he needs to speak to you. So I get on the phone. Hi, Mr. So-and-so. How you doing today? I'm doing quite well, Frank. Where are you doing? He says, I haven't seen you here in like 2 weeks. I said, well, last time I was there, you embarrassed me. I'm the boss's son, and you embarrassed me in front of the men. All right? He said, Frank, let's put this behind us. He says, I got a case of shirts here waiting for you. All right? You can have them anytime you want. All right? He says, please. I says, Mr. So-and-so, I changed my brand. I won't wear those shirts anymore. Every time I wear them, I think about that incident. All right? He says, please. He says, your father put the word out. I can't get another garbage man, and the Board of Health just closed me down. Then I turn to the class and say, that's control.
Oh, I like that. Right? Shut him down, basically, right?
Yeah. That's control.
Right.
And, staffing, I mean, you're short 5 men. You go down to Bowery, you pick up 5 men, you put them on the back of a garbage truck.
You go down to where?
The Bowery.
Explain that.
The Bowery was a place in New York where, now today. In
the back of the Home Depot.
Yeah, they sleep in the entrances of businesses. They sleep on the street.
Yeah. So
you pick them up. I'll give you a day's work. Come on.
Okay.
And they get on the back of a truck.
Okay.
That's what we used to do back then.
These are homeless people, or people without papers?
There were people that chose to live on the street. I mean, I had an uncle lived on the street and he had $350,000 in the bank.
No shit.
Yeah. We didn't know that until after he died, right? But my mother, every Sunday, we used to bring him soup, especially in the winter. He lived on the street in Brooklyn, in the New York Bowery, right? And we knew the exact entrance to the store he lived in. You know, the entrance of stores are blocks to wind.
Right.
Or they lived on the manhole covers from the subway that blew up steam.
Right.
All right.
To get the warmth.
Right? And we used to bring him soup every Sunday. We did that for about 10 years. Then when he died, he left my mother $350,000. So people choose.
You left your mother $300,000 after he died. The guy that lived on the street.
Lived on the street. My mother used to bring him soup on Sundays.
Wow.
Some people choose that life. They just want to drop out of society.
Right.
You know, and there are some people like that.
Not all homeless people are mentally ill.
Sometimes it's a chosen life.
Huh.
You know,
I can't wrap my head around it, but
we knew one downtown who eventually died. All right.
He was very wealthy at one point,
and he didn't have to be homeless. He was able to. He could have gotten jobs anyplace. He was a very talented guy.
Yeah,
he was a very talented guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Rusty, we can say his name. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked Rusty. Yeah. Did I ever tell you the story about Rusty and my standing next to my car?
No.
This one time I go to the cigar lounge. I park my car. I see Rusty out there. He goes like, "Hey, you got $1, $5, whatever it is." So I give him whatever money. It's, thank you, blah blah blah. We bullshit for a little bit. I go inside. About fucking 4 hours later, it's now midnight. I come out. He's standing next to my car. So what are you doing, Rusty? And I noticed my car door is open. I get mad at him. I go, Rusty, what the fuck? You fucking with my car? He says, no. You gave me money out of your car. Then you left the door open. I saw a laptop on the seat. I didn't move. He waited for me for 4 fucking hours so nobody fucking robbed my car. I said, why didn't you close the door? He said, I didn't want to touch your car. That's fucking Rusty, man.
Yeah, that was Rusty.
That was early on. And I love that guy, man. I miss him.
Man.
I miss him. It's weird to say that a guy that used to come and hit us up for a couple bucks every so often that I miss him, but I do.
Yeah,
he was a nice guy. So you told us staffing and control.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 2 things you gave us so far. Is there anything else on that list that you can hit with a story?
There's other stories involved in that particular because we were in the recycling business. So
now, be honest for a second. Yeah. There's some stories you can't tell us.
Yeah, there's some stories you can't tell. We're in the recycling business. So, in the recycling business, we had big balers in our plant, which one bale would bale cardboard, one would bale mixed paper, one would bale pure paper, one would bale rags, one would bale tin, You never knew what you were going to find in those balers who threw something in there in the middle of the day or at night when you didn't see it. There were instances, I'm not going to give specifics.
Oh, damn it. I think the listeners want to hear it.
No, but it's you never knew what you're going to find in there. It's just
use your imagination as to what that means, right?
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a little bit.
Go ahead.
Some of the listeners have sent a couple of emails when you first started showing up on the show. First of all, people really enjoy listening to you. I think what they enjoy the most is you giving Larry shit indefinitely. And I enjoy it. I think it's funny. It's fun to watch you two going at it. So one thing that was brought up in a couple of different emails that I personally am interested about is your whole jail career, your summer camp, as you call it.
Well, as I tell my wife, and it fries her ass, that was the best 4 months of my life.
The best 4 months of your life were in prison.
Mind you, remember I prefaced my garbage career by my father refused to ever send me to camp. I never enjoyed camp with kids.
Right.
I never went to camp. I never had free time to go to camp. Sure, I played sports, but that was during school. Right. I never really enjoyed camp. Right. And
not because you couldn't afford it, because you had to go to work.
It was just part of an education. It was part.
It
of
was
my
important for him that you get that.
It was part of because again, being the only male in the family, a business that was in our family for 70 years, it was a natural progression for me to move forward.
Grooming you to take over,
to move forward.
Right.
So I had an IRS problem, the Internal Revenue Service. Right. They said I owed them an enormous amount of money. I fought them for 10 years, saying I didn't owe them the money. I got it whittled down, and this is the sad part about it. I could have paid them off 10 years before.
Right. What was the amount?
$15,671.
You'll never forget that number.
But there's a threshold above $15,000 was a felony. That was a threshold. Now I had a medical license I had to worry about.
Right.
Right. And so I went and hired a federal attorney, and I said, listen, I don't have any problem paying this off. He says, they're going to give you a felony, and you only get 6 months probation. That's what I can cut for you. All right. A felony be on your record. Then you have to deal with the Board of Medicine on your felony situation.
Now that you have a felony and you're guilty.
Right.
Essentially because you paid it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we got to fight it. Right. His bill was $550,000.
Oof.
Right.
Say that fast enough. It doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah. His bill was $550,000. That's a lot of money.
Sure.
That's a lot of money.
And this was in the 90s?
This was
late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s. Yeah, late 90s.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So I'm found guilty.
After the whole fucking thing.
They came after me for $700,000. The number wind up being $15,671, just what we thought.
Wow.
All right. But they had to make it look good, and sometimes you pay for the sins of your father, not that my father, maybe he had a couple of sins, but not a lot of sins.
Okay.
But, one of the things they hit me with in trial, which at that point I was probably about 10 to 12 years out of the garbage business.
Right.
Right. They put a picture of all these garbage trucks on the wall overhead of my father's plant in New York City, and I was vice president of his business. But I wasn't collecting a dime when I was a doctor after that. I had a credit card.
Right.
But I wasn't collecting a dime.
That's a different story.
That's a different story. All right. So they tainted the jury. Yeah, there must be something dirty here, a garbage kid from New York, medical school, all that stuff.
Okay,
right?
okay.
The jury finds me guilty. All right. Before the jury came back, right, the judge admonished the federal government by saying this should have not come to trial. This is not a criminal offense. And my lawyer is kicking me under the table and said he's going to self-direct it. All right? Self-directing means the judge doesn't want to go to the jury. He's going to find you not guilty.
Right.
All right? He's going to find you not guilty. He turns, he says, this should have not been a criminal charge. He says, but the way you've handled this, the government, he says, I know that if I self-direct this, you have a right to appeal. I'm going to bring the jury back and let them go.
Oh, fuck.
The jury found me guilty.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So the judge didn't believe that this was as bad as they made it seem.
He actually told, in fact, I have paperwork. He actually told the federal government, this is not a criminal offense. You should have not been
the
here.
IRS prosecutor or whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit. So the jury comes back.
Must be guilty.
They find, well, listen, it's a panel of your peers, so it is what it is.
So then the threshold is 6 months in prison.
Oh, that would have been your max.
That's for $15,000 with 6 months. That's the max. That's the threshold with 2 years probation. Okay. Right.
It's easy for you. 2 years probation. You don't fucking do anything wrong.
So we go to the hearing, for sentencing hearing. The judge says, I'm going to give him 4 months with no probation. Unheard of, because he didn't believe it should be a criminal offense, but he had to give me something. Right. Prosecution stands up. I object. He says, if you stand up one more time, he's going to go free.
Oh.
Right. They sat down. Right. I got 4 months. Now the thing is where they're going to send me.
Right.
Right. Now I live in Florida. Right. They're talking about sending me to Miami jail where Noriega was.
Oh,
because I had a home in Miami, so I could be close. I didn't want to go to jail.
Right.
The local congressman at the time helped me out.
You want to say his name?
Bill Nelson.
Okay.
He's right now he runs a space.
Still around, yeah.
Bill's a good guy. He helped me out. He was able to get me into a camp in Montgomery, Alabama.
And that's what they call it, a camp. It's super low security.
There's no security.
No security.
No security.
So describe what your prison time was like.
Well, you walk on
your camp time.
You walk on an Air Force base.
Okay.
Maxwell Air Force Base.
Okay.
Right. By the way, I never had handcuffs on me ever.
Even when you were transported?
Self-directed.
You went and dropped yourself off?
Knocked on the gate.
No shit.
Knocked on the gate.
You can't even call that shit prison.
Right. Knocked on the gate. I'm here. Okay. They pick me up with a van. All right. They take me to the warden. All right. First, they take you into a prep area where they stick their finger up your ass and make sure you don't have any contraband with you and all that stuff.
Larry will tell you their finger's not long enough.
And they give you army fatigues.
Oh, so you don't wear like the normal?
No, because they want you blending in with the servicemen on campus. Because we were the people that worked the hotel, did the gardening, worked on the whatever.
You're the grounds crew.
We're the grounds crew.
Yeah.
All right. So we were treated as military people. All right. We were treated as military people.
Fucking amazing.
Right? So I walk into the warden's office and he says, "There's something wrong with your paperwork." I says, "What's wrong with my paperwork?" He says, "You're given 4 months in prison with no probation." I says, "Well, that's what I was given." He says, "I got to check into this. This has never happened before."
Right.
Right. About 2 days later, he says, "I never heard it, but it's true." Right. It's true. So I worked out a fairly decent job there. I found out what the best job was going to be there, and I was able to maneuver myself into it, into the specific job. One of the things is that I couldn't practice medicine there, right?
At the Air Force Base.
I was warned that, well, there were only 300 inmates, right? And, they'd come to me for things. And the warden says, "You cannot practice medicine there." I happened to help a couple of the indigenous people out, the Indians, right? And I was given the honor. They had teepees on the river. We had a beautiful, beautiful place. I'm telling you, it was better.
It's hard to believe that you're describing a fucking prison sentence.
We had teepees, and I was in one of the sweat lodges chanting with them and so forth. I really got involved in the culture. It was really wonderful. And then, if it didn't interfere with my tennis lessons, because I had tennis lessons, and
this is fucking ridiculous, man. This is Club Med.
I played golf, Club Fed, please.
I love it.
I played golf twice a week, racquetball, tennis lessons, and I had a personal trainer. All right. The currency at the time was cans of mackerel.
Okay.
Right? That was your currency. For one mackerel, can of mackerel, I had my bed made every day. For another can of mackerel, I had my clothes washed every day. All right.
So you mobbed the whole fucking thing.
So it worked out great.
Yeah.
It worked out great.
Where'd you get your mackerel?
Right? If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Oh, it's that kind of shit, huh?
I told you I wound up with a good job there.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Well, but not the but you couldn't do. So if somebody came up to you and said, "Look at this fucking wound on my arm," you can't.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't allowed. If the guards caught you, then you were in trouble.
Well, you're not practicing medicine. You're just saying you should do something about that. It's getting infected.
So and they had a very good infirmary there. The infirmary was very good.
Well, yeah, it's a fucking military base, Air Force base.
I played softball for the Air Force team.
That's fucking amazing.
I just couldn't go on overnight trips with them. Okay. If the game was in the complex, which was a couple thousand acres.
Sure.
I was able to play there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was a great time. I was kind of sad, but I left.
You're gonna miss it. Well, listen, it sounds like you had a pretty good experience overall. I mean,
I'm saying that if federal camp is a good experience. When Barbara Walters did an expose on that particular camp, and she called it Club Fed. All right.
Is that where that came from?
What?
Is that where they came from? No shit.
She called it Club Fed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mind you, these are all white collar guys. Most of the guys back then it was. I don't know if you remember, Health South was having a big controversy. A few of their executives went to prison.
How the fuck would I remember? I was in high school.
Yeah. So we had a bunch of corporate execs, CEOs, this guy, that guy.
Oh, that we're all doing time there with you?
Yeah, yeah.
So you got to mingle with these guys?
Got to mingle with all of them.
They're all good people?
I had a wonderful experience with one guy.
Okay.
Right. It was a wonderful experience and a bad experience. I had a guy that they put in a bunk above me. All right.
So you still lived in bunks and cells? There were actual cells?
No cells. We had 150 people in one room.
Okay.
All right. And we had a little pod there, so there'd be like 3 bunk beds in a little pod.
Do you have private bathrooms?
No, it was public.
Public bathrooms?
Yeah. You couldn't walk around with your underwear on. It was very. They were homophobic.
Really?
Unusual for, you say, prison. You weren't not allowed to walk with your underwear on. You had to walk around with pants on.
Okay.
Right. So that was the only thing I thought was, a little unusual, because you hear all these stories about prisons. Guys being.
Hey, you hear fucking Larry's stories, yeah.
Sexually active, but it wasn't like that there.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound like real prison, to be honest with you.
So I had a guy above me. He came about a month after I came, right? And he had an accent. I said, where are you from? He said, I'm from South Africa. All right? Oh, okay. And I had problems walking with him because he wouldn't walk on the sidewalk, unfortunately, if a black man was walking on the same sidewalk.
He was racist.
Yeah, it was the middle of apartheid, basically.
Okay.
You know, they were still having problems.
Right. As far as this guy's concerned, it was fresh on his mind.
But he had more to complain about. He used to own 25 lobster boats. And what happened was they came to him and they said to him he's got to give 20% of his earnings because apartheid was just ending to a black man. All right? He says, that's a lot of money. He says, I was making a lot of money. Yeah. That's a lot of money. I had to give 20%. And they were waiting on the docks for me every time I came in. All right? So he overfished the waters. Right? It violated some type of act that was written in 1870 or something like that. So,
and that's why he's doing time.
No.
Oh.
The Attorney General of South Africa, all right, prosecutes him, right? They take away his business, right? He gets a $7 million fine. Screw it. He says he took his whole family, moved to New York City. All right? He moves to New York City, right? He says, I'm sitting in a condo in New York City. Right? He says, I had plenty of money. Right? So, sitting in a condo in New York City, they knock on his door, FBI. We're getting you in I think it was called the Lacey Act violation. He said, wait a minute. I have a letter. He says, I already paid my dues. This is double jeopardy. He says, your crime in South Africa means nothing. You violated international law.
Right.
Right? So.
Double jeopardy doesn't even play a role if it's in different countries. Yeah.
So he gets a $100 million fine thinking he's going to get out. I said, what'd you do with the $100 million fine? How'd you pay it? He said, I just paid it. What am I going to do? I want to stay out of jail. Now I have a guy living above me that paid a $100 million fine. And they gave me a year.
They gave him a fucking year?
They gave me a year.
You didn't have as good of a lawyer. Oh, shit.
It was really an incredible story. So, but you see where, you know, there's no reason for hate in this country, right? And you can understand how these people living in South Africa, you know, and how they treated black people. You know?
Oh, shit.
It just was not right.
Oh, yeah.
It was not right. And it was the first time I really saw hate in somebody's eyes when we were walking on the same sidewalk.
Because he would see a black guy and get mad?
Unbelievable.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Well, I stopped walking with him.
Right. Because you're like, fuck this guy.
I didn't know the story at that point.
Right.
And after I questioned him on it. Why are you acting like this? He went and told me this whole story.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. You know, you say this was so close to what was going on there in South Africa and all the shit that was going on. So, but the fact of the matter is a day after the war was over, most of the Germans that were living in Germany at the time said they didn't have any problem with Jews. It was just a governmental thing. Okay? So this guy didn't have to hate black people. He didn't have to be a fucking racist. That's something he was racist. You know what I mean? You can't say he was a product of his environment. I don't like to give people excuses. You know what? That's a good segue. Let's talk about the fucking anti-Semitism that's being fucking rampant in this country.
Let's talk about this asshole, Kyrie Irving.
Fuck that motherfucker.
Listen to this guy, right? First of all, he refused to apologize. I think he apologized maybe this morning.
This morning, yeah.
He refused to apologize.
His apology this morning was fucking light
and if you look at, here's one of these guys who questioned whether or not the Holocaust existed.
He can go fuck himself.
He questioned the Holocaust. That's why you have to give Dwight Eisenhower, all right? Anybody who's known, Dwight Eisenhower was our president, all right?
At the end of the war.
He was a 5-star general. He was led out troops in World War II, all right? When they went to visit all those camps, Eisenhower said, nobody's going to believe this 100 years from now. I want to videotape it all. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
It was all videotaped. Because, you know, there's a significant segment of population, especially the Middle East,
right,
that denies the Holocaust existed.
It's everywhere. Yeah. They denied it a year after.
And now we have in this country. They
asked him. They said to Eisenhower. They said, "Why are you taking pictures of videos of this fucking massacre?" Mm-hmm. He was taking videos of piles of dead bodies and all this shit. And that's what he said. He said, "Fucking people are going to deny this happened. You know, history has a fucking weird way of working. We need to fucking document this. And I commend him for that. But more than that, you know, the fact that there's people in this country right now that deny the Holocaust. And this is the age of information. You can Google pictures. You can see everything. You know that, I mean, other than propaganda, it is common information. Fuck those people.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are wackos all over the place. I mean, there are people that deny that we landed on the moon. All right. There are people that deny.
But that's harmless. See, that's harmless. The whole moon thing.
There are people that the jet that the Pentagon wasn't a jet. You know.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
That was a rocket.
A rocket. You know. So you know.
Yeah, except it had fucking wings and a cabin.
How this stuff gets started? You know, you have a little pilot light, and all of a sudden it just starts spreading with these maniacs.
Well, you could thank YouTube for that a little bit. Yeah. YouTube has fucking millions and millions of hours worth of fucking conspiracy theory videos. And you know, you watch some of them, these motherfuckers will make you believe something, you know? Like the whole 9/11 was a inside job people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You watch enough of that shit, it's like almost like they're like brainwashing you. You know? You start doubting, you're like, well, maybe they got a fucking point. They spew a bunch of facts that you can't research.
What about the radio jock that denied that all those kids were killed? And now he got what, a $30 billion fine?
Who's this? Refresh my memory. I don't.
The massacre of all those kids in the school. Was it in Connecticut or New York? I forgot the name of the issue.
Which one? It happens there's so many fucking school shootings.
Young kids. These were children. They were massacred. And
you're talking about the Uvalde, the Texas thing? The most recent one?
No, this happened a few years ago. And there's a guy on the radio saying it was all a hoax.
Okay.
It didn't occur.
Okay.
I mean, you have parents that lost their kids. All right. And they took this guy to court. All right.
Good.
He's already been fined about $30 million.
He'll never pay $1.
No, he'll not pay $1.
Yeah, it's just a fine. Yeah. He will never own a house, but he'll never pay $1 either. Fuck that guy too.
I apologize for the listeners for not knowing that, but it's.
Yeah, we don't know the exact. Yeah, but listen, we're just shooting the shit here. One more thing we'll say about anti-Semitism. Fucking Kanye, he's mentally ill.
Well, Kanye is definitely mentally ill.
But we talked about this.
But there's no excuse.
It's not an excuse.
No excuse. You know, it's. I want to say it's an inborn error of metabolism, because these people are hateful to the bone. They're hateful people. Right?
I don't think Kanye is that hateful. I think he's just fucking fucked up. No. I think it's mental illness. I think he hates Jews because he fucking drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And this other fucking asshole, Irving, he can go fuck himself.
Well, the whole point is that these people aren't treated as you or I would be treated for making racist comments. They're not treated like we would be treated. I can bring an example.
Because they're black?
I don't know why. All right, I don't want
to. Because he's an athlete. Because he's powerful. There's money. What is it?
Well,
Could be a combination of all.
Let's take the owner of the basketball team a couple of years ago. All right, the owner of the Sacramento Kings, I think it was. Guy was a billionaire. All right, made a couple of derogatory comments. Mm-hmm. All right, they took a $2 billion team away from him.
Yeah.
All right. Immediately it started. I agree with it.
Yeah.
I agree with it. You take what the Washington Redskins, the family of the Washington Redskins are going through now. A couple of misogynistic comments he makes, a couple of way he treats employees. They're taking the team. They're going to take that team away from him. He's going to be forced to sell.
Good.
But yet you take it to another level when you start talking about anti-Semitism, because what the Jewish people have gone through over the past 50, 100 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Holocaust is only 70 years.
We should have learned our lesson that you can't allow this to brew, and these people have to pay the price. Kyrie Irving should never be able to step on a basketball court again.
Agreed.
I will not even watch an NBA basketball team if they keep him in the league.
Right.
I will never watch NBA again.
Right.
And that's how you hurt these people, right? You hurt them by you take away their revenue. Right? You take away their revenue,
their pockets,
and all of a sudden the NBA will bend. Right? They'll bend.
Well, listen, I would do the exact same thing, but I don't think it's going to happen. Right now, they're saying a minimum of a 5-game suspension with no pay. That's what they're going to do. And you know what? It's light. That's a light fucking sentence for what he did. This guy, that's not going to hurt him.
He took half a year off last year.
Yeah, he's taking a break.
What's the damn difference with
right.
that?
He gets a chance to sit out. What they need to do is they need to give him an indefinite break and just fucking push him into the wind.
And a huge fine. A huge fine.
You know, the problem with fining people is that they don't really have to pay.
Yeah, but you see his salary is guaranteed, let's say, over a 10-year period.
Oh, take it out of his salary.
Yeah. These guys signed $200 million contracts. All right. So you're not going to get the next 8 years.
So what do you do? What do you do with the money, Frank?
What do you do with the money?
Yeah, you got to bring it back in. Somehow you got to bring it back to anti-Semitism, anti-racism, anti-something.
You have to get it back. You have to give it back to education on the issue of what anti-Semitism is, and just as you have the LGBT community educating our young kids, all right, what it means to be of the same sex but want to be somebody else, all right, with that education is continuing, all right.
I don't want to get into that topic because it's a deep topic.
But it's a whole to education, because you see that education occurring, which a lot of people are objecting to. A lot of people are objecting to censorship with books. You know, we have the mothers. What do you call them? The mothers something here.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I forget the name. Mothers for something.
Yeah, we have a group of people here that are restricting books in the community.
Right.
You can't start restricting literature and books. You can't. That's where it started in Germany.
That is.
That's where it started.
Right.
All right. Now, I'm not a proponent of taking this and promoting it to 5 to 11-year-olds as would happen with the Stag Show in our own town here.
Oh, you're talking the Randy Fine thing, the drag queen story time.
The drag queen story time.
Which is basically a drag show for children.
Drag show for children, 5 to 11-year-olds. They were invited, all right? I'm not in favor of that, all right?
You know, listen, I'm not in favor of that either. I wouldn't take my kids. But at the same time, as long as they can do whatever, people can do whatever they want with their kids. There's no fucking manual as to what you can do with your kids. Yeah. Right? If this is how you feel, you want your kid, having a story time, I'm okay with it. I think Randy's point was he just doesn't want it done on the street. He just doesn't want it done in like a public manner. And
Randy's point was it was sanctioned by the town. The town gave a permit.
Right. And in the permit, they didn't have that.
Yeah. And so it looked like the town was sanctioning this this type of thing.
Yeah. I think they should take the fucking money from the fines or whatever it is that they take from them, and they should start programs to educate minorities about other minorities. How about that?
Yeah.
Because it's unbelievable to me. Black people feel some sort of oppression here in this country. It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, it's been proven millions of times that, just for being different, you are looked at differently.
I'm
not going to get into that argument.
But I think you're wrong when you say black people still feel some type of repression.
There is oppression in this country.
I think what it is, it's more of an attribution. They want us to pay them back. There are a certain group of people that say, what we suffered in 1860s and 1870s, I need some retribution for that.
Okay, but I'm not talking about retribution.
We can't do that.
No, you can't. I understand that. I understand. All I'm saying is that for people who are already oppressed to oppress other people and to bring, unfair statements out there and to generalize people basically what I'm saying in simple words, for a black person to hate Jews, to hate another minority, any minority, I say Jews because it's close to home, but whatever, to hate Italians, to hate this, that, and the other, yellow, green, purple, I don't care. To hate somebody for who they are just based on a generality, it's such bullshit. It's such bullshit.
It is, but you see, there are certain cultures that rise above it. For instance, when I was in school, all right, I went to school with a lot of white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, all right? Went to school with them. I was a Guinea, I was a Wop, I was a Greaser, all right? Don't forget, my father was a blue-collar guy,
right?
All right? We're a blue-collar family, right?
You were in trash business.
Yeah, we were in trash business. We're a blue-collar family, right? We rose above those words and flourished.
Right. Listen, it's not that easy, though.
I understand.
It's not that easy.
But
plus, for every 10 people like you, there was one person who got their panties in a knot over it. No. Not all Italians took it for face value. That's why Italians they were feared eventually, and that's why people fucking stopped. I don't know that they stopped. There's still some fucking Italian racism out there too.
I think every group suffers from racism.
Yeah, well, listen, the other day I saw a guy in that Camaro that had the fucking Italian flag on it, right? Like, oh, it's fucking... I'll say it because I'm fucking Guido, right? And he cut somebody off at the light, and the guy fucking yelled out, "You fucking giddy!" You know what I mean? So that was right here in Melbourne. Yeah. That was fucking 2 weeks ago. So it's still alive. You know what I mean? My point is, for one minority to hate another is such bullshit. I don't think anybody should hate anybody just based on who they are or where they come from. But for one minority to hate the other, you know what the hate, what the feeling is like. You know what I mean? You know what it's like when people fucking hate you for one thing or another.
Well, you know, you and I are people that grew up in a multicultural cities.
Yes.
Right? I never experienced racism
me neither.
Until I came to Florida.
Yeah, I had some anti-Semitism growing up, but not as rampant as it is.
I never really experienced it. Don't forget, you know, we had, you know, half our employees were black or Hispanic. Right,
teachers.
They lived with us. Yeah. You know, I mean, I hate to say some of my friends were Jewish. That makes you sound like a racism.
No, it's true.
But we grew up in a multicultural area where we never really experienced racism. All right, never did.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my father wouldn't have breakfast in the morning unless his best friend, who was a black guy, all right. My mother was allowed to put the eggs on until he was sitting at the table with us in the morning.
So he can eat fresh eggs.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I came to Florida. And you know, right here, I mean...
The area that we're in is fucking...
When I came here, this was a hotbed for Ku Klux Klan. And it still exists.
Oh, yeah.
It still exists.
There's a little bit of a wake-up thing that happens. I'll tell you, I moved here... it's been 10 years, man. Yeah. I've been here a long time now. And you've been here, obviously, a lot longer than I. But when I first got here, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And then, like, when the whole Trump thing happened, and, you know, unfortunate to say, when Trump was around, whether he was a proponent to it or not, a lot of these groups that were kind of hiding, KKK, QAnon, this guy and the other, those hate groups, essentially, they all kind of surfaced a little bit. I don't know if they felt like they had a voice. I don't know if it's just the time, the weather, whatever it is. It happened. And over here, locally, fuck was it present. Yeah. You can really feel it. Well, I bet you, well, listen, I visit Philly a lot. In Philly, you couldn't, because you pop your little fucking racist head up in Philly and they'll chop it the fuck off. Yeah.
The ironic thing about when Trump was president, it's where anti-Semitism was getting started. You don't forget, his grandkids were Jewish. His grandkids are Jewish. And
I didn't say he was an anti-Semite.
No, but I'm saying that a lot of the anti-Semitism, right, started around that. It started flourishing at that time. You know, 15 years ago, it wasn't as bad as it is today. It's worse today than it was 15 years ago. But you're a Jewish man, so you
15 years ago, I lived. No, 15 years ago, I was young enough, and I lived in Philly, and I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
You know, my eyes weren't as open to it as they are now. Now I'm an adult. I have kids to worry about and their futures, and now I really worry. And I want to make sure my kids are raised with the proper understanding of everybody's equality in general, you know. So I now have to worry about it. But Frank, when you met me, be honest, when you met me, I didn't feel that stuff. I didn't worry about that. I knew it was there, and I knew that it was a problem, and I personally never had hate in my heart because I wasn't raised that way. But I just didn't. So to say that it is more common today or more rampant today than it was 15 years ago, I agree with you, but not because of knowledge. I agree with you because of your knowledge, not mine. Because me, I just didn't feel it. I didn't see it. When you say something like that, you know, it almost pisses me off.
Would I say something?
No, when you say something like that, when you say that now it's worse than it was 15 years ago, that fucking pisses me off.
Well, this morning in the New York Times, they had 3 articles on anti-Semitism.
Well, it's right now between Kanye and douchebag.
You know,
that's why these guys are bringing it to the main stage. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Fuck.
Well, you have something else that's going on too.
What's that?
Netanyahu's back.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that on the news.
To get back,
well, right? let's tell the listeners who that is. It's the Prime Minister of Israel. He was the former Prime Minister,
the longest serving Prime Minister Israel's ever had.
Right, and he has the approval. He had the best approval rating. He was in Israel. It's a different system than it is here. It takes multiple parties to put together enough votes to create a government. So in order for you to get your 51% or whatever it is to create a government, you need to like kind of cut deals between all these different parties. It's not just 2 parties, blue and red. You've got a work party there, a labor party, and they're separate, by the way. Work and labor are separate, which is fucking ridiculous. You've got your Arab party, you've got your Russian party, you've got all these different parties, and you have to
form a coalition,
right? And he was the best at forming a coalition.
But now he formed a coalition with this guy named Aziz, who is so far to the right.
This is going to be the most fucking radical right movement that Israel's ever seen.
It is so far to the right. The Netanyahu, I mean, it's not, there's no longer talk about a two-state issue. It's talking, that far right wants to annihilate the Palestinians.
I don't think so. You're wrong.
But that's what's coming out, the dialogue that's coming out from that group.
That's misinformation.
Okay.
And you know what? You don't get a lot of good news here on The Real Deal. We joke around, we talk about everything, it's all bullshit, but this is real news.
Yeah.
I know Israelis. I know the people who are conservative in Israel. I know the farthest of right people. They do not want to kill the Palestinians. They have nothing to fucking do with the Palestinians. If the Palestinians were to put their fucking weapons today, they'll put them down. It's over. It's that simple. They are the aggressors 100% of the time. Israel provides them with water, food, and hospitals, doctors, and whatever it is that they need. They let them know before they fucking bomb them. And, you know, they only bomb places where they know for a fact there are terrorists and terrorist fucking ammunition. Israel doesn't go and kill fucking people like the bullshit that they fucking feed the people online and all these fucking dumbass celebrities who take a fucking position without knowing shit.
Well, you know, there's...
I'm going to get off my soapbox because they've heard it all before, and obviously this means something to me. But, you know, the whole idea of it being a right fucking... No, yeah, it's good.
People are getting the side which they don't hear.
Right.
They don't hear.
Yeah.
Right? I don't hear that. I read the articles in the New York Times this morning, you know, and about the Netanyahu coalition and how far to the right it's going to push him and how it's going to hurt probably... the peace plans that they have.
Bullshit, there is no peace. The motherfuckers are shooting rockets at Israel every fucking day. They don't want peace. They want the annihilation of the Jewish people. They want Israel to not be Israel. That's what they want. There's no fucking peace. There was never a peace conversation on the table, Frank. The last peace conversation was in 1992 with the guy that got shot in 1994. By the way, today, November 4th, is exactly the day he got shot. Yitzhak Rabin, that was his name. He got shot. He was the prime minister at the time.
I know what Rabin is.
Yeah. He got shot by some fucking dumbass. By the way, a radical right. You know what I mean? Has nothing to do with fucking peace. This is not peace.
By the way, the other thing with Netanyahu, he's a guy that was involved in the war back in 47, 48 when they were taking over.
Do you know the Entebbe?
And do you know that his brother
was the only casualty in Entebbe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't think the listeners really care too much about this, but if you do, research it. If you do, send us an email if you want to hear more about this. I'd love to talk about this because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. But to me, it's a soapbox. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into it. I don't want to bombard people with information they might not care about.
So you're a Philly guy. How you like the Phillies with what's happened?
Dude, first of all, let's talk about the 8-0, baby.
How you like that?
Fucking Eagles. I can't believe it. Yo, I am so fucking happy. Although I will say, did you watch the game last night?
The baseball game?
No, you watched baseball instead. So I watched the fucking Eagles. I'm not a big baseball fan. However, super happy for the Phillies. You'll update me on a second on what happened with the Phillies. But I'll tell you, last night, the Eagles played the Texans, and it didn't look great for a long time. You know, I mean, you could tell that the Eagles were the better team. There's no question about it. I mean, what's the Texans' records? What it's 1-6-1, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
They have a tie and 6 losses. So they actually look pretty good against the Eagles. It's kind of unbelievable. But
they look good last week too.
They did, yeah. So that was. I'm glad that we won that game, but it was harder than it needed to be, in my opinion. And you know, Pierre, part of the. I don't. Let's not talk football. Fuck that. Tell me what happened with the fucking Phillies.
Well,
I know they got hit with a no-hitter the night before.
Yeah, the Phillies had to win that game because they're going to go back to Houston and play 2 games in Houston now, right? And the Phillies had a lot going for them. The best pitcher probably of this generation right now is Justin Verlander, right? Justin Verlander, however, in series starts, he's 0-6. And the Phillies will be, he notoriously does bad in these games, right? And he won the game for Houston last night, right? But they have a kid, a rookie kid, Houston has, his name is Pena, right? One of the best shortstops I've ever seen, and the kid can hit. The kid can hit. It's an incredible.
You're talking about an Astros player?
An Astros player. Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
We're celebrating the Phillies right now. Fuck those guys.
Well, I think the Phillies. You know, baseball is a strange sport The two best teams in baseball aren't in the World Series.
Right.
Right? Yankees and Dodgers.
Well, no, listen. Astros had a pretty good season.
Well, Astros, as the New York Times said this morning, all right, do we have a dominant team? What do you call them? Well, a team that's dominated everything over the past few years, and they have, but they've only won one World Series,
right? And
they won that World Series through theft. You know that, right?
I heard about it. Yeah.
What happened was they were videotaping hand signals, videotaping, and the hitters knew what was going on.
Yeah. Right? They knew where the ball was going.
That was the only World Series they won.
What, is that illegal?
Of course it is.
It's up to you to change your fucking language.
Well, it's like Deflategate also.
Right.
You can't.
Which is also kind of bullshit.
That's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Dynasty. They said, do they have a dynasty? Because they've been in the World Series for the past 6 years. Right. But they've only won one.
Yeah.
And then the one they won, it's questionable.
Well, I hope they fucking lose this one too, I'll be honest.
They got 2 games. The thing about the Phillies is they were a mediocre team most of the year. Mm-hmm. They peaked at the right time.
Right.
And they have a kid who had 10 years ago had all the potential in the world.
What's his name?
Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper.
That's what I thought.
And he finally has come up. Right. He's finally come up to, they spent a lot of money getting him a couple of years ago.
No pun intended. He stepped to the plate.
He stepped to the plate. It's an interesting series because they've peaked at the right time. It's great for the city of Philadelphia because they have 2 teams now.
Great for for the city. I don't know, because fucking if we win the World Series and the Super Bowl, that city will be inflamed twice in 1 year. I don't know what it is about us. And listen, I love Philly. I bleed fucking Philly. Everybody here that knows me knows I'm from Philly. I love it. That's my home.
It happened a few years
but
back.
We destroy our fight in 2008.
When I lived in Philadelphia, they had McNabb. They won. They had Pete Rose led Philadelphia Phillies. Right, Pete Rose was on the team. They won the championship, and the Flyers won in 1 year.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Flyers won.
What year was that? 76.
Yeah, it was probably
in the 70s.
I think it was 80, 81, something like that.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't in my lifetime. I know that.
Yeah, and New York did that back in what 69 was it, when the Knicks and the Mets and I think the Rangers or Islanders. Yeah.
That's fucking. Here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, I just want Philly. I'm not into baseball, but I want the Phillies to fucking kill it. And I already know that the fucking Eagles are going to kill it.
We need our major markets like Philadelphia, like New York, like Los Angeles, to step up to the plate. Another pun, step up to the plate. Because baseball, which used to be America's sport, right, is a dying sport.
It is a dying sport.
It's a dying sport. Yeah. Kids aren't playing it anymore.
It's not America's favorite pastime anymore.
Kids aren't playing it anymore. It's difficult to make the pros in baseball. That's why we support Dominican Republic. We fund all the Dominican Republic because
that's where the good players come out of.
So they come out of. Yeah. That's where they come out of.
Right.
That kid that pitched the no-hitter. We funded him. He signed a professional contract when he was 16 years old over in Dominican Republic.
That's an Astros player? Fuck that guy. Hey, listen, I want to tell you a funny story that I read yesterday. The Astros are in Philly, and they're trying to secure catering for the players. So they call a couple pizza places and a couple, places that are famous in Philly for their food, and they deny them a catering job. They straight up, nope, it's for the Astros, go fuck yourself. Doesn't matter how much money. And the teams, it's 10,000, 15,000, whatever it is. It's not a cheap catering job. You're doing this is a big deal, right?
Yes.
They told him to go fucking kick rocks, man. They told him, and you know what? Only in fucking Philly will a pizza place bleed so fucking hard for their team that they'll say, fuck you and your players. The only way I'm doing it is if I get to fucking give you food poisoning.
Well, they were missing one guy in the middle. If they had Larry Lawton there, they would have gotten pizza. I told you how we went to the Colorado game.
No,
right? So Larry's in the elevated hotel, and he can network with anybody,
sure.
Right? There were ball
That's his magic.
There were ball players in the elevator, right? So he's networking and so forth with the ball players. All of a sudden, he gets a call from the team to come down to batting practice, the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah,
all right. Then
didn't they give him the game ball
after the game? They come up to the hotel room. They bring him hats with his name in them.
I know. He showed it on the show.
Game ball, all right?
Yeah.
It was It was an incredible situation. He does it all through his bullshit.
No, listen, that's his fucking magic.
He's a magical guy when it comes to that.
Listen, you guys might like listening to Larry, but if you ever met him in person, you will fall in love with the fucking guy, right? I mean, it's amazing how he does it. It's
hard.
really amazing.
It's hard not to love the guy.
I love Larry.
Yeah.
I do. I love that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Anyways, Larry's on a cruise today. That's why he's not here, but I think he announced that on Monday. Yeah. He'll be back Sunday, so he'll be here for the Monday show.
He made his run yesterday or the day before for more butt plugs. You know that, right? Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. How the fuck do you know that? So wait, before he left for the cruise, he went to the fucking store and bought more of that
He went to that place. Can I mention the name?
The name of the place?
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Hotflix. He went to Hotflix, you know.
Hotflix, which used to be for porn videos.
And he went with a friend of ours wife.
Oh, well, that name, you definitely shouldn't put it out there. No, listen, I know why she went. I didn't realize she went, but I know why she went. She's shopping as a gag gifts for somebody else. Yeah. Larry's not, this is not a gag for Larry. Gag. This is real. This is what he does.
He goes down the aisle. I'll take 2 of these, 3 of those.
I forget which episode it was. A few episodes ago. You weren't on here. I think Dave was. Larry pulled a bunch of them out. He's like, I'm going to show him on the fucking show. And I said, no, don't fucking do it. And me and fucking Dave kind of talked him out of it, right? Fine, we sit down, we start the fucking show. He stuffed his pockets, the motherfucker. He starts pulling out fucking butt plugs out of his pocket and talking about them. You thought you fucking stopped. No, you can't fucking stop Larry.
We were in Arizona last month. What was that place we went to? The cave, the outside thing there.
Yeah, I don't.
For the concert.
Yeah.
You know, see Steve Miller Band.
Yeah.
So we have a
Red Rocks.
Red Rock. Yeah. So we have sort of a party beforehand in the parking lot. You know. So my wife goes into his trunk to get a sandwich or a drink or something like that, and this black thing falls on the floor. So she picks it up. What is this thing, Larry? What is it? She's looking at it, right?
She thought it was a microphone.
She thought it was a microphone because it had a ring on it, all right? Then it had this thing coming out like that, and then it had a little pouch. Well, what it was a butt plug, a scrotal vibrator, all right, and a cock ring, all built in one.
The fuck?
And she's carrying around.
When she found out what it was, what did she do?
Oh, my God.
She wanted to burn her hands?
I mean, he just carries them around with him.
Yeah, it's true. Listen, I'll tell you some inside information on Larry. Don't look at his phone, and sure as fuck don't go into his trunk.
And don't sit there at lunch if you don't want to look at videos.
That's true, because he'll show you the fucking videos.
Every video from the night before.
Yeah. Larry has a good time, man. He really lives it up. I can only imagine what kind of shit he's getting to on this cruise, and we're all going to hear about it on Monday. But anyways, Frank, thank you for being with us. I'm going to wrap this up.
I enjoyed it.
You are, it's always a pleasure having you around. I know the listeners love you. You know, I love you. So that's all I got. Listen, guys, if you haven't bought cigars from us yet and you're interested in purchasing in a box, crookeddiamondcigar.com. You can buy a box for now. I know some of you want singles, and I get it. We will have them. But right now, it's only pre-orders. Pre-orders are only in boxes. Eventually, we'll have, I don't know if it'll be pack of 3 or pack of 5 or something like that. But you could try them, and you don't have to buy a whole box. And I do get people who don't want to do that. But again, if you do that, you don't get the box, and the box is pretty cool. What's up?
Can I say one last thing?
Sure, go for it.
To your listeners, please. A very important week is coming up. Please don't forget to vote.
Oh, don't forget to vote. It's true. Yeah, that's right. So, are you going to vote, or did you early vote?
No, I like to go to the polls.
You like to go to the polls and do it old school. That's what I'm going to do that too. All right. So, listen, I appreciate everybody for listening. We love you guys. I'm going to tell you what Larry says every time is make good choices. See you, everybody.